and welcome to the Cupcake Jemma studio with me, Gemma. I'm here with Sam behind the camera and Nikki behind the other camera, taking all the snaps today. And I'm making something for the shop because I feel like they need a little treat, not just the staff, mainly for the customers. That's you guys, hopefully. And we're doing something today, which Nikki actually developed last year for a special project. And it feels a bit of a shame that it's been sort of locked in an archive for a while. And it's the Elvis cookie. Now, if you don't know what Elvis flavoured things are, I mean, that sounds a bit weird. Elvis's favourite sandwich was a peanut butter and banana and bacon. Gosh, almost forgot the most important ingredient. Bacon sandwich, which if you've never experienced that might sound a little bit weird, but it actually all really works really well, and it particularly works in this cookie. So we've got all of those things. It's delicious, it's yummy, it's crunchy, it's got bits in. Ooh, it's really fun. So I thought I'd treat the shop to a little special product. So I'm gonna make a bunch of them today to take to the shop, and they'll be selling those later. But I thought I'd bring you along for the ride because I'm sure you guys want the recipe, right? Yes, of course you do. So let's begin. So there's a couple of things I've done in advance to get myself ready. Obviously, I've got all my ingredients all measured out as per usual. And the first thing I've done is burn my butter because that needs to be liquid. So you might have a stash of burnt butter in your fridge, and if you do, props to you because that is really very prepared of you. But if you haven't, that's fine. You can just make it really easily. You need to start with 150 grams of butter in a medium-sized saucepan. It will reduce to about 120, and that's how much you need. All you do is you set it over a medium heat, let it melt away. Then once it's all melted, you need to get your spoon in there and give it a stir quite frequently over that medium heat. And after a few minutes, it'll start to bubble. The color of the butter will change to a more golden color. And eventually you'll see little brown specks, and that's the milk solids just browning and getting all massively flavorful. And then you need to cool it, and it needs to be cool but liquid. So the reason it needs to be cool is otherwise we're putting eggs in or we're putting chocolate chips. So if it's too warm, all that jazz is gonna either cook or melt. Just gonna be a disaster. So if you've already pre-prepared your butter and it's in the fridge, just melt that down, but make sure it's not too hot. So that's there. And then the first thing I'm going to do is get my dry ingredients whisked together. So I've got 170 grams of plain flour here. And I'm gonna add to that half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda and half a teaspoon of sea salt. And then you just want to whisk that together just so that it's all combined, so when you add it, it's not having to work too hard. That's ready, so that just needs to hang tight for its little moment in the spotlight. And now I'm going to whisk my butter and my sugar. So I've got 200 grams of light soft brown sugar going into a big bowl. And you might have noticed that looks like more, and that's because I'm doing a double batch, don't forget. I'm going to put all the ingredients for a single batch, which will yield about 20 cookies in the description box. But because I'm making them for the shop, I'm doing more. Anywho, I've got 120 grams of the liquidized, lovely golden brown burnt butter. Oh, it smells so delicious. And that's going to give your cookies a really lovely, warm nuttiness. And then 60 grams of mashed, very ripe banana. It's really important to make it ripe rather than new and green, because otherwise you won't get all those lovely banana-y flavours. So just whisk those all together, just with a whisk until it's completely combined. And we're not trying to get it light and fluffy or anything like that, you're just really trying to combine those ingredients. Next up you need egg yolk, so you will put 1 in, I'm putting 2, and just whisk those all through until that's combined as well. And lastly, you want a half teaspoon of good quality vanilla extract, and that just needs to whisk in as well. So now I'm going to get rid of my whisk because I just need a spatula for this. And we're going to put in the dry ingredients, so all that flour with the bicarb and the salt. And to say it's folded in is a kind of weird because we're not trying to avoid knocking air out because there isn't any air. We just want to fold it gently in. So just stir it. You could do this with a wooden spoon as well if you want. And then it's time to put all your additions in. So I've got 120 grams of dark chocolate chips. You could use milk if you wanted. I'm using 54% cocoa chocolate, which is delicious. I've also got 25 grams of banana chips. That's the really crunchy ones. You can get at the Whole Foods store. just for a little crunch. And I've got candied bacon, which is super easy to make. So you're gonna need 6 or 7 rashers of streaky bacon. I find streaky is the best for this. And 50 grams of dark soft brown sugar. And all you're gonna do is rub that sugar onto each bit of the bacon, so back and front. Once it's all covered and you've taken off the excess, you want to lay it out onto a pre-prepared wire rack. Now, my top tip for getting straight, flat, crispy bacon is to put a cooling rack over the top of a baking tray just to catch any of the drips. And in this way, it won't sit in its juices and get all curly. It will go nice and crispy. So you're going to bake these at 170 degrees C for 8 or 9 minutes on each side. Make sure you flip them over to make sure they're really crispy. And when they're ready, just transfer them straight away to a bit of greaseproof paper, otherwise they'll stick to your wire rack. And when it's cooled, it'll be all crispy. Just want to chop it up with a pair of scissors. That's the easiest thing, and just whack that in. I've got 50 grams. And then just fold that in all together to evenly distribute all the yummy bits. Nice. Now, it's missing peanut butter. We've got the bacon, we've got the banana. Where's the peanut? It's right here, guys, don't worry. I'm using peanut butter. You can use smooth or crunchy, whichever is your preference. You can use like whole nut stuff or like the really unwhole nut stuff. And what you want to do is, because we want little pockets of peanut rather than it sort of all mixing into the dough, we're going to sort of ripple it through. So I've got myself a couple of trays here. I'm going to dump in my cookie dough, and then on the top, I'm going to dot about my peanut butter, and then just using like the end of a spoon or a knife or something, just sort of move it about. So you're trying to sort of bury little bits, but keep some bits exposed. A kind of rough ripple, let's call it. So that when we scoop it, we all scoop up a little bit of peanut butter each time. And now you've probably seen that this dough is quite soft and sticky, so it's going to be really hard to roll this into balls. So I'm going to put this into the fridge for 15 to 20 minutes just to firm up a little bit. Once it's cold and it's easier to handle, you want to grab a spoon, scoop up bits of the cookie dough with your spoon, making sure you get a little bit of peanut butter in every scoop. Once it hits 50 or thereabouts, you can just give it a gentle squeeze. You don't want to roll it too much to make it really smooth. You just want to squeeze it into a ball. Then pop it onto a tray lined with a bit of greaseproof paper. And to finish it off, you want to put a little bit of the candied bacon, maybe a little banana chip, a couple of chocolate chips, just so that when the cookies bake, there's a bit of everything on top. And then just keep going until you've rolled all your balls. Once you've rolled everything and they're topped with all the little extra bits, you can pop them into the fridge for at least 2 hours. I've had my oven preheating at 170 degrees C. As usual, I'm using a fan-assisted oven. And my balls are all nice and chill, so it's time to bake them. So you're going to want to bake these for 9 to 11 minutes. They will be spread out quite a bit. So as you can see, I've spaced them out quite nicely. They'll spread out a little bit, and you'll want the edges to be a little bit more brown in colour and the middle bits still a little bit soft. Once the cookies have baked, they will have spread quite a bit and they may be a little bit misshapen. So just grab yourself a nice big cookie cutter and just shuffle them back into a circular shape. Well, obviously these are for the shop, but I think it's only right that I reward myself with a little tiny cookie. I mean, it's not actually that tiny, but it is a cookie and it looks delicious. And it smells good, and I can see that the chocolate is still melty because it's only had about 20 minutes cooling time, which is kind of optimal, I think. Shall we? Shall we break one open and see all that lovely gooey, chocolatey yumminess inside? Oh, see, it's lovely and soft. Now, if you didn't want it this soft, you could bake it for a little bit longer, but I love it when it's a bit fudgy in the middle. Anyway, enough of this looking and inspecting. We need to eat it. It's so banana-y, because I use those lovely ripe bananas. And in fact, the ones I use have been in the freezer. So they've been further ripening slowly in the freezer, which is the top tip. And then I just got a little salty, bacony nugget. It's chocolatey, it's salty, I've got the peanut in there. I mean, it's a bit messy right now because everything's really melty, but I think this is a delicious cookie. Well done, Nikki. She's just there, I don't know why I'm shouting. So please do give this a go. Make sure you take pics, put them on Instagram using hashtag Cupcake Jemma, or even better still, you can put them in the special chat over on the Bake Club. And if you don't know about that, it's a special members club. It's on Patreon, so we'll put the link to that if you'd like to join us. It's also really great because you can basically DM me with your baking questions and I'll answer you, as well as like meeting other bakers. It's really fun, so check it out. I will be back next week with another bake. So until then, I hope you have fun making these Elvis cookies, and maybe the next time I bake them, I'll be in like a white jumpsuit with some like gold shades, and I'll be going, what does he do? I actually don't know how to do Elvis. All I know how to do is eat these cookies. See you later.